What happens after we innovated everything we need? Innovation has transformed how we live and how we work. Take a step back for a moment and think about world-changing innovations. What comes to your mind? Today, it's incredible to see how quickly technology keeps advancing, with disruptive technologies coming every day. Now, AI, humanoid robots, and even more. These leading-edge technologies accelerate innovations. Michio Kaku, a Harvard-educated physicist and a futurist, he forecasted in his book, published in 2011, that contact lens-sized computers, virtual doctors, genome-based healthcare, among others, will come by the end of this century. Remarkably, many of these innovations are coming faster than predicted. However, how many of you have ever thought about what innovation will look like after final technological innovation came? This is innovation beyond innovations. For example, when all those innovations that the Michio Kaku forecasts come, our life will be fully convenient, efficient, and sustainable. We will likely be free from having to work. In this future world, probably coming much faster than we think, what we truly count as an innovation. Of course, I have already asked ChatGPT, but even ChatGPT couldn't give us a definitive answer. That's why here, this is where our imagination works. Before jumping into the content, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Katsuhiro Sato. I'm a professor of Waseda Business School with backgrounds in both academia and the global businesses. So I started my career as a geek on numbers at the bank, worked in both Japan and London. Then I spent almost 20 years as a management consultant, advising the senior executives on the management topics, again, both in Japan and in the global arena. Then I moved to Waseda in 2023 as a professor of strategy. But beyond this balance sheet and the boardrooms, I also practice Japanese tea mastery, Sato. Yes. But why do I bring these two completely different worlds together, business and Sato? Because I believe we are now in a tipping point. Right? Those technology-driven innovations, of course, this is the one, but we now start to think what it means to live as a life as a human. Today, I want to share my thoughts on future of innovations, where ultimate technology unlocks our desire and passion. To begin with, let's reflect our history on humanity, which has been a journey of innovations. Right? The journey is with steam power electricity, automotives, aircrafts, telephones, computers, and of course, AI, right? You may think maybe many more. Our history is packed with innovations. But why did we pursue those innovations? What were our motivations and goals in pursuing innovations? Apparently, like, all of those innovations were driven by cutting-edge technologies at that time, designed to make our life more convenient and our work more efficient. Convenience and efficiency have always been the major reason why we chose innovations in our history, right? But now, 3 million years later, since the Stone Age, we are beginning to talk about something radical, the singularity. It is a moment when AI surpasses human intelligence, a moment when AI learns on themselves, and a moment when they keep getting smarter and smarter by themselves. This is the final destination of our technological journey of innovations, the singularity. Once singularity arrives, life reaches new levels of convenience, and our work achieves unprecedented efficiency. A combination of AI agent and robotics, right, will most likely free us from labor works. Perhaps many of our daily life tasks could be handled on our behalf. Everything we need could be done for us. However, that brings us a serious, fundamental question again. What we will pursue in this upcoming age? What innovations we will crave? When there are less and less problems to solve and less work to do. In that, when we must begin to reimagine who we are and what we truly want. My personal experience in Japanese tea mastery, Sato, gives a hint. So I spent almost 3 decades as a very busy banker and the management consultant, right? With days packed from meeting to meeting, travel to travel, and of course, endless problem solving. Yeah. It was high-paced. Of course, high-pressured, but high impact. I was happy. But when I decided to invest my time into what it means to be a human, I began practicing Sato through the Omote Senke school 5 years ago. Then I discovered totally different world. As it is a mastery, of course, there are many, many strict protocols to follow. But those protocols are not for convenience, not for efficiency, but for beauty in serving teas and hospitality to welcome the guests. In Sato, we sit for 4 hours in a quiet tatami room. Listen to steam hissing from a metal kettle and drink a tea brewed from the kettle. It is time to relax, a time to bond deeply with others in the same room, and a time to reflect on ourselves. Sato started in early 1600 with a legendary person, Senno Rikyu. He developed all the formal protocols of making teas and enjoying Japanese green teas in a small Japanese tatami room with beautiful Japanese crafts. These protocols stay the same since inception. Besides myself, Sato was loved by samurai. You know samurai, right? Maybe the samurai became hectic on their busy days of battles and practiced Sato in between battles. Why? Maybe they wanted to revert themselves back to who they are as a human and wanted to get relaxed. Like samurai, during my busy days as business samurai, Sato was a time to genuinely come back to who I am as a human. A time deeply listen to my inner voices, and a time to feel authentic happiness and fulfillment. I feel relaxed. I hear my inner voices on what I really love and who I really want to be with. I found that my life is not for busy work, not for promotions of titles, and of course, not for social status or financial success. I found that my life is for beauty, for authentic friends, and for well-being as a human being. This is truly a reimagination of myself. I believe Japanese samurai who were busy slaying each other at the battlefield did feel the same through Japanese Sato practice. Now, you may have related the Sato arguments to the singularity and started to try imagining what happens when there are less and less pressing problems to solve. What happens when technology can do almost anything we need? When we are finally free from work, we will have spaces to ask who I am, what brings me joy, what brings me meaning, what fulfills me. We then find the answer. Happiness and fulfillment comes from what we love. For me, that's Sato. Sato brings beauty and heartfelt friends to my life. As singularity is inevitable, I recommend people to start investing your time to listen to your inner voices and pursue your happiness and fulfillment as your fundamental desire to be a human. We are entering a remarkable era, an era where each of us can pursue what we truly love. An era where we have to be honest about what brings us happiness and fulfillment. as a natural next step, right, we share to others what we love, what I love, what you love, share to others. I share the beauty of Sato to my friends and invited them to the Sato practice. Several of them really liked the Sato as a joy. Through this, we create small, genuine community rooted in shared passion, mutual respect. By sharing our passions and by sharing the joy that comes from them, we give rise to something powerful. New values, new behaviors, and new cultures. We are already seeing this today in Japan. We call it oshikatsu. People discover joy in a product, an artist, or a story, right? And they proactively share oshi, their love, to others who feel the same. And before long, a small, passionate community is born. This is an example of innovation driven by love. In a future where our basic needs are met, right, innovation will no longer be about technology. It will be about discovering what we love, what brings us joy. Imagine a world full of communities, right, united by their shared love, where we are creators of meanings. Eventually, the world becomes a tapestry of those communities, each one bright, each one human, and each one full of purpose. Let's reimagine ourselves, share up our aspiration and the vision together. The future of innovation is joy, not just progress. The future of innovation is driven by our inner love, not by technology. So, what would you innovate for your future innovation? Thank you so much.